right. Good morning, my bows and bow ties. My husband told me that I was spoiled. So I just want to welcome all of the people to this video. I'm the Black Opinionated woman, also known as B.O.W. So yes, my husband told me that I'm spoiled. So let me just say this. I am. But let me tell you how this conversation took place. This past weekend, we were en route to my nephew's 2-year-old birthday party. My kids, I clear my throat. And we were just talking about our plans for the summer and what I wanted to do for our anniversary. So I've had this long-standing desire. We're going on several different vacations, some longer than others. But for our anniversary, I want to go to Iceland. So en route to my nephew's birthday party, we're having these discussions. We're talking about what I want to do for the anniversary and retirement and all kinds of stuff. And he just looked at me and goes, "You are so spoiled." And my response was, yes, that look, that quizzical look, like, and how is this a problem? Now, I will say this. I recognize my spoiledness, but I looked at him like, is this a problem? Because I was like, I did finally respond and I said, I deserve it. Now, where am I going with this? I've been with my husband for a good minute. He is my homie. He's my lover. He's my bestie. He's my husband, right? So with that, when you've been with someone for a period of time, you've been through peaks and valleys, all right? We don't have you go through ups and downs. And that's when you're building your foundation. You're building, you know what I mean? Like, you've come through things. Like, you have a bond. You go through things. And so you understand what adversity looks like with each other. And you learn how to tackle things, right? So with that being said, I also think, well, my husband does well for himself. And because when you develop a really good relationship and bond with somebody, you've been through the trenches with someone, you tend to want to take care of that person. I don't feel bad about being spoiled. I wasn't always this spoiled, but I am. And I feel like I deserve it because I've been through the ups and downs. I've, bore children. Yeah, we've been through it. We've been through family trauma and, all kinds of things. So, absolutely. I put up with him, he put up with me. And more so, I would say this. I took care of my husband. I mean, I take care of him now. When I say take care of him, no, it's not like serving him and all this stuff. The interesting thing about serving, what I find interesting? Now check this out. I listen to a lot of men and their misguided notion of manhood and womanhood. Many of these men are not in good relationships. They've been divorced. They're in and out of relationships. I remember when I met my husband, we were somewhere, I don't know if we were at a barbecue or I don't know where we were. I don't even remember. It's been so long. But I remember this. This is the first of two things that he shared with me one time. We were out and I was going to make him a plate. Not because I felt like I had to, but I wanted to. And he looked at me sideways. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I was just going to make you a plate." This is early on in our relationship and our dating and stuff. And he looked at me like, "I don't need you to serve me. I can take care of myself. I appreciate that, but I like to make my own plate." He's really particular about it. I'm like, "Well, I can make it for you." He's like, "No, I make my own plate." I like, it's like he wasn't trying to be offensive, but he was just kind of like, "I get it. I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't need you to serve me. Like, I understand, like, we should be serving each other." But his whole thing was like, You don't need to make my plate. He's like, I just like making my own plate. Back when we used to actually iron clothes, I remember one time I was going to iron something for him. He's like, nah, I like to iron my own clothes. I was like, really? Now I do his laundry, but he was like, I iron my own clothes. He was like, and I remember he said to me, he's like, look, I don't need someone to be a slave to me. You know, that's not what I need in my, like a wife or a lover or a mate or whatever. He was like, for people who are in those kind of relationships, that's great. He's like, I don't need that from you. He was like, I mean, I appreciate you wanting to do those things, but, you know, he grew up in a home that was extremely traditional. His father was, he traveled around the world some, but he was this great engineer. And yes, back in the times to have a black man be this incredible, he's done stuff with like satellites and all kinds of stuff. He's done amazing things. And his mom stayed home, did all the typical stay-at-home stuff. His dad managed money. Eventually, his mom managed money. But, you know, it was like he brought in all the money, blah, blah, blah. But his mother raised the boys to be self-sufficient, you know, be able to take care of themselves, right? So when we met, I didn't have to take care of him as like a baby, as a child. And it made me think about many of the men today. It's constantly about like me. I just need them to do this for me. And I just thought it was interesting because, you know, I would cook or whatever like that, but he actually enjoys cooking. He enjoys it. So, you know, I'm like, go ahead. Where am I going with this? I just thought it was interesting how my husband, who most people who know him would consider him to be an alpha male, he never has to beat his chest. He's not that personality. He just commands attention. He's that it guy, right? He doesn't have to say a whole lot. And I think about what's going on today, how so many people are like, I'm a good dude. My husband never has to say it. He's never once had to say it to me. I don't recall him ever telling me I'm a good dude, I'm an alpha male, none of that stuff. But interestingly enough, when I was going to do things like make him a plate or whatever, and that was just out of courtesy, not because I felt like I had to. He was like, you don't, like, no. It's like, we're a partnership. Now, he's still the head of our household, but I pretty much run the house. I just thought it was so interesting how he doesn't beat his chest or anything, and yet it's like I can appreciate his strength. I mean, you know, I appreciate how he doesn't have to say it. He just walks his life. So he's like, you're spoiled. I'm like, I feel like it's your job to spoil me. He just looked at me and laughed because I think he thinks I'm crazy sometimes. And maybe I need to continue to let him think so. You know, I just thought it was interesting. But yes, he was like, you're spoiled. My response is, I deserve it. He should be spoiling me as I should be spoiling him. Between him, the children, and my diva cat. Yeah, I mean, there were times I had to take a back seat in our relationship when he worked for himself and I did not have my career. That was a pill I had to swallow, you know, and then getting back out here and reestablishing myself, helping to accelerate our path to retirement, our path to financial freedom and stuff like that, because our whole goal is to ensure that our children have access to generational wealth. Now, we're not into providing economic outpatient care. That's, you know, from The Millionaire Next Door, right? For those of you who don't know, it's a book. You should read it. But we want to make sure that we have the funds available. We spend our time putting all these things in place. But in our present, he still takes time to, when I say spoil me, it's not like he's buying tons of gifts or anything like that. But I live a comfortable lifestyle. We're not wealthy, but I'm not hurting. And it helps that I am working. He's not threatened by me being hired also. And I listen to what many of these guys talk about and what they say, and I find it to be alarming, actually. Instead of thinking of it as a partnership, both parties, to include women, both parties see each other as opposition. No one sees each other as a team. There's no partnership. So, oddly enough, with me having my own situation, it also gives me agency to spoil myself. I think what makes our relationship work, and it's not going to be like everybody's wants and needs are different, right? I think what helps me is that he understands and recognizes that I have to have my own agency in myself. Agency looks different to everyone else. I want to be able to, if I want to purchase something, I don't want to have to check in with anybody. I mean, we have a rule that if we were going to spend over, I think, $1,000, which I think is pretty high, that we would check in and have a conversation. Now, we check in even with less than that, but the point is, like, if I want to go and do something, I don't ask. I don't have to worry about I don't do that because I have agency in myself. I think people don't get it. They are threatened by when people have agency in themselves, right? They look at it as like, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, and take care of the. I'm like, well, yeah, but I think people are threatened by the fact that now women can take care of themselves. Like my husband knows I can take care of myself. If something should happen, he knows, like, you know what, because she had agency herself or something like that, he also knows that if something happens to him, I know, although we provision for emergencies, I know that she's got my kids. She's got it. I listen to these men right now because they want women to go back to like the 1950s and the 1900s, and they don't even realize that they haven't even done enough to ensure the safety and well-being of their family, but they want women to just be submissive. I'm like, in order to submit, they have to have something to submit to. So with that being said, like my husband, I appreciate him. You know, we haven't always been in a great place. We went through periods where there were peaks and valleys, like most relationships. And I don't want to make it seem like we are in this perfect, rosy situation. But we're in a good place. So when he makes comments like, you're so spoiled, I'm like, I am. I deserve it. I don't even feel bad about it. Not at all. Would it be nice to be in, like, just totally independently wealthy? Yep. But that's not where we are. And we have accepted. You know, we work towards other things. We're in a good place where we're going to be for retirement. But I don't have a problem with being spoiled. My thing is kind of like, and why are we bringing this up? You and I both know this. And it's as it should be. I should be spoiled. Because although he has done a lot of great things, let's not discount what I have contributed to this relationship. And I think he appreciates it. He actually messed me up about a month or so ago where out of nowhere he said, hey, I don't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. And I love you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a wonderful gift. Because oftentimes you can get caught up in the goings on of your life, the mundane. But sometimes it's always good to hear it. So when he said that, that was a gift to me. It was a wonderful gift to me. Now, with that being said, as I get off of this road and hop onto this other situation here, this car just took his time. I'm trying to get over it. All right, so look, that's pretty much it. I just want to let you know, my husband was like, you're spoiled. I was like, I deserve it. All right. We're still planning that trip to Iceland this year. I plan on being there. I'm going to see some of the fjords. I want to see the Aurora Borealis, a.k.a. the Northern Lights. I am dying to see all that kind of stuff. For those of you who think that this is a really strange thing, I'm like, look, I live my life. I do enjoy traveling around the world, and we do travel with our kids too, but we're going to take that trip by ourselves Looking forward to it. But look, for those of you who are visiting my channel, you need to just go on ahead and subscribe. Okay? Just go ahead, because that's really what you want to do deep down inside. All right? Go ahead and subscribe, and like it too, and then leave a comment, and then go watch some more videos, and then go share them with someone. All right, so let me get my life together and concentrate here, because I gotta do some maneuvering type situations here, and I like to be safe because I'm spoiled, which means I need to continue being spoiled. All right, Black Opinionated Woman out.